You know, that's a tough one because, as I said, you know, I started my first novel and this guy started talking, so it was first person. Yeah. It was from his point of view. So I thought that novel worked out pretty well. As soon as I finished that novel and Knopf bought the novel, I started the next one right away because I had heard about second novel syndrome and I'd heard about sophomore effort and I didn't want the pressure, you know. So I thought I better get the second one written before this one is published. I had 9 months. So I started writing as fast as I could. And again, I thought, you know, well, the first one worked out pretty well. I'll write first person again. I got to, and this is, if I make one conscious, very deliberate choice in the beginning of a novel, it's usually where to put the speaker. and is it first person? Is it close third person? So then I got to, let's see, so the next one after that, after The Painter was Celine. And you know, I guess it wasn't a choice because I remember the first line was something about oh no. No, I did make a choice. It started out, my mother's name was da-da-da-da, so that was first person. I remember I switched. I thought, for this novel, there's multiple characters that I'm going to want their perspective. The easiest way to do it is to go to a close third where I put the camera on the shoulder of each character, but I'm still a third person narrator. I made that choice. And I think all my novels since then have been third person. So here's the thing about third person. First person, you can hide behind your character. I, as the writer, can never be smarter, more witty, more erudite than Hig. He's the one talking. So if he's not that well read or not that smart, it's not me, it's him. Same with Jim and The Painter. Now when I go to Celine and I start writing third person, it's a little scary because it's all on the table. There's no hiding. You are as witty, as smart, as erudite, as beautiful a storyteller as you, Peter Heller, the writer, are, period. Buck stops here. So that's the risk of third person. That's the sort of vulnerable feeling that I got when I started the first third person. But it was so fun. You know, it was so fun to move the camera around a little bit, pull it back a little bit to 10,000 feet, look down. I thought that was a gas. But I think that the next novel I write will probably be first person again. Because I've written now 4 in third person.
Yeah, I mix literally narrative worlds. So it's like, you know, in the Green Road, I had 4 different siblings. They each had a different kind of book. So they each wrote a kind of different kind of book in their head, I suppose. And this to me seemed accurate and democratic and interesting. It worked as collage in some way. It works by juxtaposition. It's some technical challenges in getting chronology and information across. But to me, that kind of sings that you've got 2 different books. 2 different personal styles. So this is repeated in this next one, which has 2 different narrators, or 2 different characters, one of whom is a narrator and one of whom is a character.
I think there's something like, and Hannah's not quite a teenager in this, she's about 10, 11, so I think there is a real gift that you get from a child narrator. So if you have a child's perspective on things as a writer, you can ask questions that I think would sound overly knowing if they were in the voice of an adult. So there's a section in the book where Hannah's parents are very religious, and she asks her mother, they have an auntie who is not religious and bad auntie, and she asks her mother, why do we pray for Auntie Rachel but we never invite her to our house? Now, that would sound very rude if I put it in the voice of an adult, but in a child's voice, you understand the subcontext, but it also sounds legitimately like something an innocent child might ask. And a child narrator, you know, it's a narrative device as well for giving it information. So your students will know exposition is one of the most difficult things to do with a light touch when you're writing fiction. it can just come in like a big dump of here's all the information you need to know. So for example, in the Raptures, there's a section where Hannah has a conversation with her granddad, and she asks him about what is this conflict in Northern Ireland that I'm living in the middle of, and who are the Protestants and who are the Catholics. And he explains it to her, and it sounds believable, like a conversation that a child would have with an older person. If I was putting that in a straight exposition, it would be 3 very boring paragraphs of here's the history of the Troubles in Northern Ireland. So it is a device that writers use, and some writers use it better than others. I worked a lot when I was writing the Raptures with a lot of Roddy Doyle's work. I think Roddy Doyle writes incredible child narrators. They're funny, they're really readable, but they also give you a lot of insight into the story. So I would recommend something like Paddy Clark, Ha Ha Ha, is a great child focused novel, but there's a lot of them out there.
Fun, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, you know, that wasn't a deliberate choice. I just, I think I found myself, I loved both characters. And it was so fun to sort of, you know, be next to one, be next to another, and then, you know, sort of be with the fire, you know, later on and stuff like that. I was just having a gas. And the character Win is really based, in a lot of my books, the characters are, you asked how I construct characters, and I should go back to that because it's something important. Celine, the 3rd novel, is my mother. Jim Stegner, in the 2nd novel, is Jim Wagner, famous New Mexico painter. He was my fishing best friend for 10 years. And you can search Jim Wagner, image, painter, New Mexico images. You can see the paintings as I saw them. The hand, the palette. In the river, Win is my best friend Jay. I mean, he's 6'5", he's a gentle giant, he's protective of people, he's an ephemeral artist, he likes to make art with sticks and stones. He's a consummate outdoorsman, very tough, but gentle. And so I wrote, and that, I'm not Jack, but I relate to Jack because Jack's wariness of people is sort of the way I approach the world. So in most of my books, the main characters are based on real people, and that makes it a lot easier to you know, sort of reimagine the details of their personas and character.